Democratic leaders have downplayed the odds they will try to impeach the president. It'll never happen. You're being paranoid. That's what they said before the election. Turns out what we knew all along is true. They may not in the end be able to contain their party's own base. Rashida Tlaib is a newly elected Democratic congresswoman from the state of Michigan. At a Thursday night event hosted by MoveOn.org, she delivered a vulgar promise about what her party would accomplish this year. Watch this.
When your son looks at you and says, "Mama, look, you won," bullies don't win. And I said, "Baby, they don't, because we're going to go in there, we're going to impeach them."
Yeah, she's impressive. The amazing thing, though, is that MoveOn.org was founded, I remember when this happened, to oppose the impeachment of Bill Clinton 20 years ago. Huh, interesting. Times changed. Lisa Boothe is a senior fellow at the Independent Women's Voice. She's been following the story, and she joins us tonight. Hey, Lisa.
Hi, Tucker. I know there is a little bit of irony, right? She said this at a MoveOn.org event. Obviously, that was started to encourage Congress to censure and move on. Clearly, she does not want to do that with President Trump. So, a little bit of irony there. And also, this is not the first time she's called for President Trump's impeachment either. She's also tweeted about this a month ago as well. So, clearly, this is something she fully believes in.
It's just so interesting that a group like MoveOn.org, which started, with some principle behind it, is just like completely dishonest and without any principles at all. It's like whatever it takes to achieve power, we're for. Does anyone ever say that?
No, they don't. And think about it, too, Tucker. We're only in this was the first week, not even a full week, of the 116th Congress. But listen, this is what happened this week. You have those comments from Rashida Tlaib. You also have Hank Johnson that compared President Trump to Hitler. You had another member of Congress introduce legislation to abolish the Electoral College, and another one that brought forward articles of impeachment. So it's already been a banner week for Democrats, not even their first full week in Congress. So this is what we're facing for the next 2 years.
I don't know if you ever followed up on this story, but Hank Johnson from Atlanta, Democrat from Atlanta, said a number of years ago in a hearing that he worried that Guam, the island, might capsize, might flip over if too many American troops were placed on one end of it. Did Guam ever capsize? Do you know? Did you ever follow up on that story?
Well, I did some research, and they did not. So
it did not.
It did not. Good. No, yeah.
So not all of our fears come true, and that's the good news, I guess.
His foreshadowing was a little bit off there. So.
I kind of like Hank Johnson. I can't help myself. Lisa Boothe, it is so great to see you, as always. Thank you.
Good to see you too, Tucker. Bye.
We often hear people say that Donald Trump has driven the American left crazy. That's a talking point, obviously, but it's also increasingly true. And not just figuratively crazy, meaning zany or eccentric or red-in-the-face mad, but actually crazy, meaning delusional, needs help, dangerous to self and others. For example, here's a guy called Donnie Deutsch, reading aloud from his dream journal this morning on MSNBC. Keep in mind as you watch this that he appears to be completely serious.
This is all Donald has left. He has one thing. This wall is not a wall. It is a let's keep America white again. One thing that talks that 39, 40, 41% base that says either the black man or the brown man or the Jewish man or the media man or the banker man is coming to take your life. And you're not in the position you're in because of you. It's because of everybody else. That's all he has left.
Take your wife? Well, that was bizarre. What does it mean? Who knows? Much easier to interpret is Rick Wilson. Now, Wilson is a semi-obscure consultant who's held just enough low-level political jobs that cable television producers can bill him as a Republican strategist. Wilson seems to spend most of his life opining in one of those 6-guest shout fests in boxes that the other channels specialize in. He's often shouting the loudest. What makes Wilson notable is that, like so many on the left, he's moved on from hating Trump to hating the people who voted for Trump, which is to say, a lot of the country. Here's Rick Wilson from last night on CNN.
The wall has always been a con for Donald Trump's credulous, rube, tin-toothed base. The wall has always been a scam. It has always been a lie. Nothing about the wall has ever been real, and Donald Trump knows it. It seems to work with his base because they believe it over and over again that nothing will stop the brown horde except the wall.
His 10-tooth base. Imagine mocking people who can't afford to fix their rotting teeth. There are a lot of people like that in this country still, and many of them did vote for Donald Trump in the hope he'd care about them, or at least not rub their faces in their own poverty. What a cruel and awful thing to say. Did it ever occur to Rick Wilson that people who are losing their teeth might benefit from cheaper dental care? Maybe Washington could help with that. But no. Easier to make fun of them and get rich doing it, something Rick Wilson specializes in.
The pictures of the cruelty of this administration are a very deliberate part of this. Their core supporters, want anybody who's darker than a latte deported.
Oh, so not only are those poor, toothless Americans ugly, they're racist now, too. They're bad people. It's okay not to care about them. They can die young of diabetes and cirrhosis and drug ODs, and we can feel fine about it. Rick Wilson can keep taking pictures of himself inside private airplanes, secure in the knowledge that those dummies with bad teeth deserve everything they get. They're immoral, unlike Rick Wilson. Victor Davis Hanson is a fellow at the Hoover Institution, and he joins us tonight. Professor, thanks very much for coming on. I keep noticing this phenomenon where the farther behind middle America, rural America, falls, the longer the death rate continues to rise, the life expectancy continues to fall, the more the people in charge hate rural America. They hate the people who are suffering the most. Why is that?
I don't know. I'm speaking from rural America, and I can tell you that it's phenomenal when you see the concrete evidence in an empirical fashion of when you have 3% annual GDP growth, or record low peacetime unemployment, or 300,000 jobs created in a year. That's a moral act, Tucker. And the Latino population, I live in a community that's 90% Latino, is at record lows, and you can see it. People are upbeat, they're working, they have more disposable income. But rather than fixate on that or even critique it, we get back to this, not just that Trump is a Nazi, and by the way, both of those clips, the speakers had called Trump and his supporters in the past Nazi-like, but it's an attack on people, and I thought that was the whole purpose of the politically correct movement. You don't stereotype an individual by demonizing an entire group. And then we've got to remember that this is not new, Tucker. All Wilson was doing was rechanneling, I think his name was Caputo, a political reporter a couple of months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, went to a rally and say that one person had more teeth than everybody in the rally. You remember Peter Strzok saying that he went into a Southern Virginia Walmart and heard he could smell the Trump reporter. And we have another FBI person in that same text trove that said Trump supporters are POS, pieces of blank. It's kind of the underbelly of the deplorables, irredeemables, and clingers that Obama and Clinton used. And it's really ironic because they're very elite themselves, and they think that by making fun of poor white, and they're mostly poor white working class people, that earns them an exemption from their own privilege as being privileged elite white people.
Exactly.
And then people like Hank Johnson believe, and remember he called Israelis termites, channeling Farrakhan. They believe that they're exempt because they have victim status, so they can say whatever they want. But it's a sad commentary when the entire political correct movement, which was designed to not use offensive speech to stereotype people, turns out to be nothing to do with principle but power all along.
But have you ever seen, so you're a historian, have you ever seen a revolution aimed at the people below? Aren't most revolutions from below trying to seize power from the people in charge? This looks like the people in charge trying to suppress the people who don't have power.
Yeah, I think what we have is we have a Versailles aristocracy, and they're very worried that people outside the Versailles, the gates of Versailles are getting restless, and we actually saw it in France. And I think they understand that whatever they were doing, and that it was a devotion to globalization, optional wars overseas, stagnant economy, this green initiative that was really hurting people in the middle, that a lot of people were hurt by it. And we had created two Americas. They're the winners on the winning coast, and they had to develop some type of exegesis to explain why the people in the middle were not doing well. And rather than saying their jobs were outsourced, or we were offshoring, or we were neglecting our manufacturing, they came up with this self-fulfilling prophecy. Well, they don't have teeth, or they stink, or they're not educated, or they're worried about their manhood. And then that explains, A to Z, why they're not doing as well as people in Malibu and the Upper West Side. And people are sick of it. They're sick of it because they're hypocrites. Rick Wilson went around in 2012 in a red pickup, I remember it, and bragged that he carried a knife and he was going to connect with the real people and help Mitt Romney get over his isolation on Wall Street. And so whatever if it paid better, they'd do something else. If Barack Obama wanted to build the wall, and he did at one time, as did Hillary Clinton, then they would be saying the wall is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's political prostitution, and it's sad because we have a revolutionary economic and foreign policy cycle going on that's helping millions of people, and if they don't like it, they should criticize it on the principles, bring facts. Right. Let's talk about the debt. You know, but
stop
anything
attacking
but that.
American citizens. I think it's totally within bounds. I think it's totally fine to attack politicians, including Trump, by the way. But when you turn around and attack tens of millions of your own countrymen, something's really wrong, I think. Victor Davis Hanson, thank you very much for that.
I think so too.
Great to see you.
Thank you.